Hello everyone and welcome to Lesson 2.2D. I've entitled this video, Representative Government. This video is going to cover pages 74 to 75. How did colonists improve government? For a time, the governors sent by the Virginia Company ran the colony like a military outpost. Each morning, a drumbeat summoned settlers to work at assigned tasks. Harsh laws imposed the death penalty even for small offenses like stealing an ear of corn. Such conditions were unlikely to attract new colonists. As John Smith commented after his return to England, quote, "No man will go to have less freedom there than here." And now we can answer question 1. Early on in the history of Jamestown, how did the governors run the colony? Very strictly, like a military outpost. The conditions were tough, and the laws were really tough. The House of Burgesses. To attract more settlers, the Virginia Company took steps to establish a more stable government. In 1619, it sent a new governor with orders to consult settlers on all important matters. Male settlers were allowed to elect burgesses or representatives to the government. The burgesses met in an assembly called the House of Burgesses. Together with the governor and his council, they made laws for the colony. The first session met in July and August of 1619. The House of Burgesses signifies the beginning of representative government in the English colonies. In a representative government, voters elect representatives to make laws for them. And now we can answer several questions. Number 2, why did the Virginia Company decide to change how they were running the government in Jamestown? Well, they wanted to get more settlers, and they realized the way they'd been doing it was too harsh, and people weren't going to come. Question number 3, what were burgesses? Those are or were representatives to the government or a government. Question number 4. Why was the House of Burgesses an important group in our American history? Well, because they were the first group to use representative government in the English colonies. And of course, today we have a representative government still, and that's what our Constitution was based on. So this is very historic and important. Number 5, what is a representative government? That is when the voters elect representatives to make the laws for them. So the laws are made by the people, and the people elect those representatives to make the rules for them. Political rights and responsibilities. The idea that people had political rights was deeply rooted in English history. In 1215, English nobles had forced King John to sign the Magna Carta, or the Great Charter. This document said that the king could not raise taxes without first consulting a great council of nobles and church leaders. Over time, the rights won by nobles were extended to other people. Question number 6. Why was the Magna Carta of 1215 an important moment in world history? Because this was a moment when it was established that the people had political rights. Now, granted, back then they didn't mean everybody. It was for the nobles and the church leaders. But this was starting the process that everyone has political rights. And it started back in 1215 with the Magna Carta. The Great Council grew into a representative assembly called Parliament. Parliament was divided into the House of Lords, made up of nobles, and an elected House of Commons. Only rich men had the right to vote, but now even monarchs had to obey the law. Question number 7. Eventually the Great Council became known as Parliament. How was the Parliament divided? It had 2 houses. An upper house called the House of Lords, made up of course, wealthy, rich, important people, and then an elected House of Commons. People that could get in that were voted on. Now notice, this is a 2-house system, and our government today has a House of Representatives, which is a bigger group of elected people, and then a Senate, which is usually considered to be the more prestigious branch. Now, we do elect them today, but originally they weren't. So we based our U.S. government off of the way that Parliament was set up way back then. So once again, a very important thing was set up back then that our government will eventually use in the United States. Some Virginia settlers can vote. At first, free Virginians had even greater rights than citizens in England. They did not have to own property in order to vote. In 1670, however, the colony restricted the vote to free, white, male property owners. Despite these limits, representative government remained important. The idea took root that settlers should have a say in the affairs of the colony. Colonists came to refer to the Virginia Company's 1619 frame of government as their own, quote, Great Charter. And question number 8, how did voting rights change in Virginia? Well, at first, you didn't have to have property to vote. However, in 1690, they made it where you had to be free, you had to be white, you had to be a male, and you had to own property. Well, thank you so much for watching. Before we go, I have this meme for you. Representative democracy? Why would I need someone to represent me? Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.